And hello everyone, and welcome back to a continuation of this video, Matt Sports Talk. Again, we are previewing, or predicting I should say, the NAIA National Tournament. My predictions of who will advance to the National Championship game and get that red banner. So we are going to stay on this side of the bracket, the Dewar and Liston quadrant. So again, we wrapped up the last video talking about all the Sweet 16 matchups. Let's talk about which one of these teams advances to the Elite Eight. Starting out first with Campbellsville and Governor State. Now, Governor State, they've had a stellar run in this tournament so far, but in this particular matchup, Campbellsville, they've been here before. They've gone this far in the national tournament, and in my opinion, Governor State will not be able to slow down Campbellsville in this Sweet 16 matchup. Campbellsville will advance and go into the Elite Eight round. Who will join Campbellsville in the Elite Eight round between Briarcliff and Mid-America Nazarene? Well, in my personal opinion, both these two teams, now for Mid-America Nazarene, I don't remember the last time they advanced this far, or even if they did as far as that goes. Briarcliff, on the other hand, they've been to this round many times before. And now, in my opinion, this could be a super close game in the Sweet 16, but I have Briarcliff with the slight upset over Mid-America Nazarene, and Briarcliff matching up against Campbellsville in the Elite Eight round. So in the Liston quadrant, which team will join Briarcliff and Campbellsville in the Elite Eight? Starting first with IWU and Georgetown. Now, both of these teams have really good offenses. They're really good on defense as well. Georgetown is a team that is extremely good in defensive rebounding. So this one's super tough. Now, for IWU, they have been knocked out of a Sweet 16 round the last 2 years, both of those years to Dakota State. But this year, that streak ends. Indiana Wesleyan with at least a 5-point win or more against Georgetown in the Sweet 16. IWU advances to the Elite Eight. And now, who will join IWU in the Elite Eight in this Liston quadrant? Well, who will join IWU? Is it going to be Rio or Freed Hardman that will be joining them in the Elite Eight round? Now, this one could really go either way. Rio's had a stellar run so far. They average over 90 points per game. Freed Hardman, on the other hand, they're another super good team. This could be a tough matchup, but I have to give the nod to Freed Hardman beating Rio in the Sweet 16, and Freed Hardman advancing to match up. I have Freed Hardman and Indiana Wesleyan matching up in the Elite Eight round. So which one of these teams advances to the Final Four? IWU versus Freed Hardman. We'll start with them. This one could go really either way, and it's going to be a super close game. Freed Hardman, they have a stellar team, but so does IWU. This one could really be a coin flip, but in my opinion, I'm going to have to give the slight nod to IWU with a 2-point win. I'm going to predict a 2-point win over Freed Hardman in the Elite Eight round. IWU advances to the Final Four for the first time since the 2020/2021 season, when they fell in that round to Westmont out of California. IWU advances to the Final Four. So which team above them in the Dewar quadrant will join them in the Final Four? Starting first with Campbellsville and Briarcliff in the Elite Eight round. This one's going to be a super tough game. Briarcliff and Campbellsville, two really good teams. They both score a lot of points. Now, remember, for IWU, they matched up with Campbellsville in the Elite Eight round back in the 2020/2021 tournament. IWU defeated Campbellsville in that round to go to the Final Four. So which team will IWU match up with in the Final Four? I'm going to have to give the edge to Briarcliff with the win. I have Briarcliff defeating Campbellsville, albeit by 5 points or less in the Elite Eight round. So it will be Briarcliff versus Indiana Wesleyan matching up in the Final Four. So which teams will join them on the other side of the bracket? We talked about Dordt. We talked about Dordt and Cumberland's matching up in the Elite Eight round, as well as Bethel out of Tennessee and Southern Oregon. So between Dordt between Dordt and Cumberland's. Which team will advance to the Final Four? Again, this is a super tough prediction because both these teams are really good, but I have to give the edge to Dordt here. Dordt has had a phenomenal season. I know they've had a couple of losses, but I have Dordt defeating Cumberland's by 6 points in the Elite Eight round. Dordt will advance to the Final Four. Which team will join them between William Carey and Southern Oregon? And again, in my opinion, William Carey and Southern Oregon not William Carey, Bethel out of Tennessee and Southern Oregon. Which one of these two? I had Bethel in the Elite Eight round and Southern Oregon. So between Bethel of Tennessee and Southern Oregon, which of those two teams will join Dordt in the Final Four? I'm going to have to give the nod to Southern Oregon. They're still undefeated. They came into this national tournament 31-0. They're on a stellar run. They're going to continue that. They are going to slightly upset Bethel out of Tennessee in the Elite Eight round. Southern Oregon advances to play Dordt in the Final Four. So now we have the Final Four set. Dordt, Southern Oregon, Iowa, and Campbellsville, or Briarcliff, excuse me. Iowa, Briarcliff in the Final Four. Iowa and Briarcliff versus Dordt and Southern Oregon. And which one of these teams advances to the national championship game? We're going to start with Dordt and Southern Oregon. Again, this is a super close prediction. It gets tougher and tougher the further along that you get. Both these two teams extremely talented. And again, this one could go either way, but I have Dordt upsetting Southern Oregon, ending Southern Oregon's undefeated streak. Dordt advances to the national championship game for the second straight year. And I have Dordt beating Southern Oregon by 2 points in the Final Four. Dordt goes on to the national championship game for the second straight year. Who's going to join Dordt? Is it going to be Iowa? Is it going to be Briarcliff? Again, this is going to be a super close prediction. And again, please take all these predictions with a grain of salt because they're just predictions. Anything can happen. We can have massive upsets. So again, this is just a prediction. This is not guaranteed what will happen. But in my prediction, between Iowa and Briarcliff, which one of these two teams will face Dordt for the national championship? Again, this one's super tough because Iowa and Briarcliff are two extremely good teams. I have to give the nod to Iowa. Iowa, a 1-point victory over Briarcliff in the Final Four. Indiana Wesleyan advances to the national championship game for only the third time in program history. The last time was 2006/2007 when Iowa went 38-0, won the national championship. 2012/2013 was also the last time when they went 35-3, and their first loss in conference that year was to St. Francis out of Indiana. The same thing happened this year. So based on those past trends, I have Indiana Wesleyan advancing to the championship game for the third time in the last 18 seasons. And I have Indiana Wesleyan, again, 1-point victory over Briarcliff in the Final Four. Iowa advances to play Dordt for the national championship Tuesday, 2 weeks from tomorrow, I might add. So finally, which one of these two teams gets that red banner? It's going to be super tough. Dordt is looking to go back-to-back. Iowa's looking to win their first since 2012/2013. In my personal opinion, again, this one's super tough, but I have to give the slight edge here to Indiana Wesleyan. Indiana Wesleyan, a 3-point victory over Dordt in the championship game. Indiana Wesleyan gets their first national championship since 2012/2013. They defeat the Dordt Defenders, who were the previous year's national champions, but the previous national champions get defeated. Indiana Wesleyan gets their third red banner in program history by 3 points with the upset win over Dordt in the national championship game 2 weeks from tomorrow. So again, anything can happen. And like I said, these are just predictions. They're not guarantees or anything like that. But these are just my official predictions of what will happen as we head into the national tournament. So if you, again, and like I said at the beginning of the first video, I am going to be recapping all of the first and second round matchups coming your way. I'm going to try to do it on Saturday morning, recapping the first round matchups, and then next Monday I'll be recapping all the second round matchups and getting you prepared for the Sweet 16 matchups that will be taking place. And then, of course, if all the Crossroads League teams advance to Sioux City, or however many of the Crossroads League teams advances to Sioux City, I'll be recapping all of those games from Sioux City. I'll be recapping those still here on YouTube once all the Crossroads League teams were to lose in a national tournament. And then, like I mentioned, I'll be doing a recap on my Spotify podcast website toward the very end of the month in terms of the statistical leaders from each team regarding points per game. All that is too much information to cover all in one video. If you did enjoy these total of 3 videos with my predictions for the national tournament, please either like, comment, or subscribe. Any one of those options helps me out greatly, and I appreciate any feedback that you provide me. Thanks so much for watching. Have a blessed week, and God bless.